Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. So Uphold's head of research, he says XRP is looking desperate to climb amid XRP $2.2 billion in volume. This courtesy of Wheezy at Nerd Nation Unboxed. So check this out, guys. Recently, Martin Heisbach, the head of research at the US-based exchange Uphold, highlighted that XRP appears to be poised to ascend to a fresh trading price range. Heisbach drew attention to XRP's growing price gains through its trading chart based on the 24-hour time frame. So he was posting this based on what we were seeing for XRP. I guess several hours ago, old friend looking eager to climb XRP. So Dr. Martin Heisbach, obviously a fan of XRP. Well, I mean, he does work for Uphold. But guys, unfortunately, what we have seen since is the price of XRP falling. Right now, we are seeing an XRP priced at around, where are we right now? 65.9, so just under 66 cents. It is unfortunate because we did see the price climb over the last little while. We did actually, in fact, see a high of about 70 cents right up here for XRP before it started tumbling down. So hit about 70 cents on the button, and then we saw the price start moving down. But guys, we need not fear, because just take a look at some of these other coins like Solana. We're seeing the same kind of pattern here, that rise and now a bit of a dip. Okay, Solana has now dipped since that high, has now dipped around about 6%. Let's bring up other coins like, similar to XRP, XLM. Since that high here, XLM has dipped about 4%. What about ADA? Cardano, let's bring up Cardano here. Cardano has also dipped about 9%. And what else is in the top 10? Let's just take a look at BNB coin real quickly here. BNB coin, since that high, it has dipped also around 2.5%. So, this is typical now. We are seeing these altcoins, some of these altcoins retracing as Bitcoin continues to remain relatively flat. So this is Bitcoin on the hourly, and you guys can see Bitcoin, the price trajectory for Bitcoin is still remaining relatively stable. We're not seeing that peak as we're seeing with other altcoins. So the other interesting point I wanted to make here was that Ethereum is doing the same thing as Bitcoin, very similar right now in terms of trading trend to what Bitcoin is doing. It is not behaving like the other altcoins. So I think that is interesting. I think that is something we should be making note of. We should also note that the market cap has gone down a little bit by 0.77%. We're seeing a 24-hour volume cooling off too. And Bitcoin dominance, that is still remaining fairly high because Bitcoin's still the leader of the market. Extreme greed is going down a little bit. It was at 81, I think, yesterday, and now it's at about 80. So not too much of a decline. But you guys can see here now, we are seeing within the last 24 hours, a lot of these altcoins are in the red. So we are starting to see that correction for altcoins. And I do have a feeling if we do see a bigger correction for Bitcoin, which I do still think is in the cards, that we will see these altcoins come back down to really attractive prices. Another reason why I'm waiting on the sidelines with cash in hand to scoop up some more altcoins that have the potential to pump in the coming, let's say, 12 to 18 months. So if you guys are interested in what I am trading particularly, I'm diversifying my portfolio this crypto bull run. I'm going to also be talking about my legacy targets. So I'm going to be talking about targets for every crypto that I hold, but the legacy targets. So I'm going to be talking about XRP, Bitcoin, Algorand, Solana. What else do I have? HBAR. On top of that, I do have that $10,000 plus portfolio of about 15 coins as of now that I have been accumulating since 2022 into 2023, early 23. Some of them are seeing gains, but I do think, guys, we are going to still see a Bitcoin correction. I do still think there is opportunity to get in to some good buys because, the cycle has just begun. Crypto is here mentioning this. Okay, first sign of weakness here on the XRP chart, rejected so far at the cup and handle resistance level. So he's just demonstrating here the XRP chart. And I know a lot of us are feeling maybe a little down that the XRP has not been moving as much as other cryptos. But guys, we got to remember every coin is going to have their time to shine. And right now, XRP is not behaving any different than any other altcoin really in the market as of now. So this is going to be trend trading, classic trend trading. Luckily, we are still in a spec market and there's not too much guesswork to do, but there are still little things that we have to be paying attention to moving up. I saw this too, okay? Here are 3 possible Bitcoin bull run scenarios according to ex-Goldman Sachs executive Raoul Pal. Now, if you guys know, Raoul Pal is a macro guru investor. He is the Real Vision CEO, and he has, he does a lot of podcasts talking about cryptocurrency and the adoption. And so he is an ex-Goldman Sachs executive and is a proponent of cryptocurrency. And he said he's laid out 3 possible scenarios for Bitcoin's next bull run. I thought this was interesting because, we generally kind of talk about that traditional cycle, right? Where we see, where we assume Bitcoin is going to, kind of behave the way that, the way that it has always really behaved. Here's Bitcoin here on the daily. And just going to put a Fibonacci on here. So, the typical kind of traditional thing. I'm sure if you guys have been following crypto for at least several years, you've probably seen one of these. A full Fibonacci retracement cycle could bring Bitcoin all the way up here to about $242,000 per coin. That is, if it does, in fact, perform that full Fib, which, for altcoins in the last bull run, they exceeded their Fibonacci, and some did not even go past their former all-time highs. So, this is one of those scenarios. And, some are saying that the Bitcoin price, or that Bitcoin does not or has not performed as well as it has in the past. So, bringing this target down, even if Bitcoin did hit the 2.618, we would still see a Bitcoin of roughly about $155,000 per Bitcoin. So Raoul Pal here, he's basically, where is it? Here, he's basically saying, okay, so the 3 possible scenarios, most likely scenario, he says, is that for Bitcoin to do a traditional cycle where we see the crypto king rallying anywhere between $100,000 and $200,000 per coin. So he's keeping it fairly conservative as well. Even over here at the 1.618, we would see a Bitcoin of about $101, $102,000 per coin. And he's saying anywhere between 100 and 200,000, so not even getting up to the 3.618. So somewhere in this range here is what Raoul Pal is suggesting for Bitcoin. That would be a traditional cycle. He says, I'm obviously very bullish. I've got 3 outcomes in my head that I'm juggling with, and there's a 60% probability that it is kind of a very traditional cycle that pushes Bitcoin up anywhere between $100,000 and $200,000. And then all other assets will move accordingly. Powell goes on to say, though, that the second scenario, which he believes has a 20% chance of unfolding, would see a massive influx. And I'm glad he said this because I've said this on this channel too. Massive influx of money into the digital asset industry, triggering a bigger than expected bull run. So could we, in fact, see that real world utility kick in? And so, for example, for coins like XRP, we could in fact see, here, let me get rid of some of that. We could in fact see, if this was the top of the last run, we could in fact see, instead of going, above the all-time high, the 4.236, because of the utility, we could in fact see XRP skyrocket much further. Ripple has been working on building XRP liquidity for several years now. And so, they have hit that point home. Liquidity is going to be key for XRP to have real value down the road. So, you got to think to yourselves, when's the best time for there to be XRP liquidity? Well, definitely when there's FOMO in the market. So 20% chance of that, he says, that the early start is signifying something much bigger, which is larger adoption and more capital into the space, which leads to larger price rises than most people are going to expect. Well, that would be a pleasant surprise, wouldn't it? People are quite scared, though, because the last cycle seems shorter. Now, this is interesting. Seems shorter than most people expected. Everyone thought there was going to be another final leg higher, and that never really happened. But maybe this time the shock is for excess returns beyond expectations. In the third scenario, though, Powell says that the asset class, meaning crypto, could see a front-loaded cycle that is even shorter than the last cycle. The other side that I grapple with as well is that the whole cycle's front-loaded, and in fact it's shorter but more violent in 2024. So those are the 3 scenarios that I'm juggling in my head. So a shorter time frame for a crypto bull run, which means it could end sooner than we believe, but it will be more violent. So a lot more volatility. It won't go up as steadily. So who knows, guys? I mean, very, very different scenarios here. This is why we got to keep our eye on the prize. And this is why this trading cycle, like I said, is going to be different for many. So if you're in the last trading cycle and you feel like you didn't cash out enough of your cryptocurrency at that point, similar to how I feel, to be honest, I did have some pretty good trades in the last cycle, but not nearly as many as I would have liked to have had. Anyway, you can follow me, only $5 a month at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. Tony Edward bringing this to our attention. Jay the Coward Clayton finally comes out from under his rock to talk about the ruling in the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. He retweeted out digital asset investors' tweet here. All of a sudden, Jay Clayton can weigh in on the Ripple victory and spins it as a partial loss on appeal. Can you believe this guy? There is no humility when there is no accountability. Listen to this.
SEC has won every capital raising case. including the Ripple case. The judge, I believe, found that the issuance, in the initial issuance, was in fact a securities transaction during the capital raising phase. Mm-hmm. The question in the Ripple case that I believe the SEC did not win was on the secondary trading, was that a securities transaction or not? There are other cases with similar facts where the SEC has won that. We will see how that plays out. But that goes to my point about secondary trading and Tim's point about secondary trading and the need to establish rules of the road, whether it's a security or a commodity, but that people are trading with the expectation of a financial return. And to go back to Dave's question, I think the SEC's record on cases decided is 95 and one's up on appeal. I'd say that's pretty good.
Can you believe this guy? Seriously, no humility when there is no accountability, and the spin is just, I just can't believe it. Well, I mean, I can. These scumbags are, well, just that, scumbags. Anyway, I wanted to thank Digital Asset Investor and Tony for posting that. Caitlin Long also mentioning this, also retweeting out a Digital Asset Buy tweet here. Finally, the media is looking into who's really behind Operation Choke Point 2.0. So, this is the law, the rules that they're trying to get together to try to tamp down, or at least to try to control cryptocurrency in the US. And, it's not only the US that is doing this. Making sure all the exchanges are checking all the boxes, and also really, really focusing on the stable coins, because, if you want to exit out of cryptocurrencies quickly and efficiently, well, part of that process is going into a stable coin that is going to maintain its value. And it seems as though Fox News is right on top of it, calling out Elizabeth Warren here. Listen to this.
All right, a bombshell report tonight about how Senator Elizabeth Warren, and her office coordinated testimony with the Security and Exchange Commission ahead of a Senate hearing. The Heritage Foundation Oversight Project, of which I'm associated, through a FOIA request, obtained emails from Warren's office to the office of Chairman Gary Gensler 2 days before his Senate testimony back in September of 2021. The email from Warren's economic policy advisor includes a list of questions. Get this, a list of questions that Senator Warren planned to ask, along with suggested answers for the chairman of the SEC. The advisor also wrote, quote, "Let me know if you're okay with the questions as currently written." 2 days later, she sent a follow-up, quote, "Let me know if it's looking like the chair has any issue with the framing of the questions. Definitely don't want to put him in a tough spot," end quote. And it appears the chairman didn't have any issue with these questions because Senator Warren asked almost verbatim from the email. Check this out.
Chair Gensler, advocates say crypto markets are all about financial inclusion, but the people who are most economically vulnerable are the ones who are most likely to have to withdraw their money the fastest when the market drops. Does this sound like the path to financial inclusion to you?
I've always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc. You pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, and that is a use case because it is somewhat anonymous, not fully, and because you can move money instantaneously, and because it doesn't go through, as you mentioned, all these systems have built up over many years, know your customers, sanctions, OFAC, they can get bypass all of that.
So yeah, some older clips here, but just Digital Asset Buy putting them together here in a bit of a collage. We are seeing here, guys, that they are scrambling. I even noticed this too, guys, from Marty Party on Twitter. It's official. Crypto is not a security, really? It's an asset. Look what's added to the SEC website 5 minutes ago. Now, he posted this yesterday. Look in the middle, the new red box, crypto assets. So what he's noticing here is this, crypto assets, not mentioning the fact that any cryptocurrencies are considered securities. Understand the SEC are trying everything in their power to control crypto, but it's not a security, it's an underlying asset, he says. They don't regulate assets, they regulate securities. They regulate the ETFs and any exchanges that sell the ETFs. So there's a very important distinction there, not the assets. So they lost. So despite what, Jay Clayton here is saying they lost. Is this true? A new agency will be introduced to regulate crypto assets like the European MiCA. So is this now the way that the US is classifying cryptos? And has the SEC now just lost jurisdiction? Marty Party saying this is crazy. Older investors and crypto. So resources for older investors and crypto assets here, not listing securities. However, Vanessa Harris pointed this out. An exercise, if you look down here from the same website, exercise caution with crypto asset securities. So they added the securities word right after there. But Marty Party saying the security is the ETF, the underlying asset is the cryptocurrency. So I get that. If you are going to be trading ETFs, for example, and the ETF is pegged to a crypto, well, the ETF can be regulated by the SEC, but the underlying crypto is a asset, is a commodity, whatever they want to classify it as. Vanessa Harris saying, I agree with you, but the SEC actually relented on this point. She's asking a question. The D-man here countering this, they have not. Their demands for wording the ETF disclosures, as they've revealed earlier, suggest that they're still trying to label the accused tokens as securities. I think they are wrong, but it's going to the courts, several different district courts, in fact. So interesting to note that maybe it is now going to be a reality that the SEC no longer can, in fact, regulate cryptos in the way they thought they could before. And now they're making this shift quietly on their website and, even still trying to call crypto assets securities really when they mean the ETFs or any kind of underlying related product that is related to cryptocurrencies. Those would still be fair game. But the crypto itself, too much precedent to suggest that, cryptocurrencies are not securities, or at least a large part of them aren't. But I guess that's also going to depend on how they were originally initiated by the company, right? That put them out. If they did an ICO, well then, yeah, they'd be more like securities. So obviously it's going to be very, very different depending on how they were launched. Anyway, wanted to thank Marty Party for that. I mentioned Dr. Martin Hisbach at the beginning of this video, and Cyprus Domenicor here brought this up. So who disagrees with Dr. Martin Hisbach, or Hisbach, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. He is the head of research at Uphold, and he claims XRP, Quant, ICP, and XLM will never be used for real-world utility. Are you serious? Now, this is the guy that is still a fan of XRP, okay? Old friend, eager to climb, 65 cents. Of course, since then, we have seen the price decline. Nevertheless, he is a fan of XRP. But if this is true, what he's saying is these I guess, legacy cryptocurrencies will never be used for their utility, but he does confirm price appreciation during the next bull run. So that is also interesting. He is still a proponent of this spec market and suggesting that these prices will climb. So a bit of a kind of a pull and tug here from Dr. Martin Hisbach. Crypto isn't real, he says. Now, this is from his LinkedIn profile, just a paper here that he published back late last month, head of research at Uphold. He says it's a wake-up call for WRAs and NFTs and the true nature of tokenization and why most real asset projects are doomed to fail. Now, he does say most real-world asset projects. He doesn't specify any particular one. Cyprus Domenicor here is just explaining, or extrapolating rather, will it be XRP, Quant, ICP, XLM, just as some examples. What he says, though, the fad of the day is real-world assets. I say day, but it's going to stick around for a while, this tokenizing everything narrative. So we've heard Ripple talk about tokenizing everything, and he's challenging this. What is temporary is the idea that any of that has anything to do with crypto. The problem with tokenized assets is that the crypto camp is much the same as the issue around NFTs. The current standards are rubbish. They were made for bored simians and stoned snakes, or whatever the collectible rubbish out there is called. The morons behind punks and apes, wow, may have gotten rich on exploiting the credulity of the unwashed. But they also destroy the image of non-fungible assets. Many RWA projects are using NFTs. So here he is criticizing the NFT, art game that we experienced during the last bull run. They also distracted from the main problem. NFTs inherit the technical properties of the chain on which they live, and that is unacceptable for real-world assets. So that is the main thesis here. If we want to put those deeds and death certificates and passports and airline tickets on blockchains, which we will, no doubt, we cannot rely on a specific blockchain. So he is saying, and he gives an example of that. He's basically saying one blockchain obviously cannot do everything. The same is true for real-world asset projects. While RWA is quite the rage, I haven't seen a satisfying solution for chain-agnostic digital representations of anything real. You can't house them on Ethereum because gas fees are unstoppable. Much the same is true for Polygon and now Bitcoin, with what inscriptions, the BRC20s and all. I don't trust Solana with my passport either, nor with my electricity, water, drone landing rights on top of roofs, nor my DNA profile, so on and so forth. So he is saying, okay, I guess because you're in the crypto space, you're just going to have an opinion about certain blockchains, and I guess people are just not going to trust certain companies versus other companies for tokenizing real world. Maybe he has too much information, actually. For real world assets, we need much more interoperability than we currently have, and even that can't depend on a single provider like Chainlink or Quant, he says. So he does actually mention Chainlink and Quant. There's a typo here, Chainlike or Quant, but I think he means Chainlink. What we need is digital independence. We need digital twins of our physical existence that live freely in cyberspace and can dock onto any platform they need to. The government will never embrace Stellar, XRP, Ethereum, or whatever to house citizens' livelihoods. So he does actually name, I'm sorry, because I did state that he did not actually mention any coins in particular, but he is stating, for example, Chainlink and Quant not going to be necessarily dependable for, or trusted by certain governments, but also here governments will never embrace Stellar, XRP, Ethereum, whatever it is. The tax office, which will want access to as much information as they can lay their hands on, will never run its own validator. So I guess what he's saying here, more or less, is that this ecosystem is going to be too cumbersome, but what he doesn't address, or actually what he kind of does, is that the interoperability is going to be key. And I guess since we know Ripple and XRP, well, they are that standard, that interoperable standard that Ripple has been touting for years now. That is why all these processes can be done on the XRP ledger and they can be plugged in to other blockchains. He says for real world to merge with cyberspace, we need a whole new toolkit. NFTs that exist autonomously, that can move, just not cross-border, but cross-chain without vulnerable bridgings. The tokens that are much smarter than dumb assets we have now. Since crypto projects aren't companies with proper financial statements, but academic think tanks, at best boiler room scams at worst, so criticizing a lot of those projects that we do know about. There is some more to this, guys, and I will link this in the description of the video for you. But for crypto to become real, much has to become technically, ethically, and morally. Many projects claiming to solve the RWA NFT issue will fail miserably. Yes, there will be development, hype, and price appreciation through the next bull run, so note that. We will see price appreciation for a lot of these projects, but there will also be failures, flops, scams, and more scams, rug pulls, technical incompetence, and most of the hubris and the arrogance of young men gripping a computer keyboard with one hand, a joint with the other, and dreaming of daiquiris in Davos, a beach chair in Barbados, or just code, pure code, independent code, free code. I dream of code sometimes, especially after a long work session when my brain tries to organize this information in a nightly cerebral housekeeping session, and I dream of better code, much better code. So essentially hitting this point home that the code has to be solid. But he is saying, and I mean, it's a bit all over the place, but he is saying, guys, there will be development, hype, and price appreciation. So this bull run is just starting, even if he doesn't think there is going to be one blockchain that rules them all. He does mention XRP. However, I think he underestimates, or understates rather, I think understates is the best word to describe it, how much interoperability has been built into the XRP ledger. The fact that these guys realize, no, the sky is the limit and we have to be future ready. The great thing though about that article is there are going to be tons of projects that pump hard, but many are going to be scams, guys. I'm trying to navigate this space with you, and you can follow what I'm going to be trading this time around. So an interesting perspective here. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.